Well, I originally got involved back in 2015. Obviously, I'm a South Shields lad by birth and South Tyneside, and I've lived here my entire life in and around South Shields, and still live in the borough now. I got called for this routine blood test, and whilst I was there, I just said, "Oh look, could you check my PSA?" Because a friend of mine had been diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer, and that was on a Tuesday, and I recall the doctor calling me on the Thursday, and as soon as she was on the end of the line, I realised, they don't often ring you within 48 hours to tell you there's nothing to worry about. He then went on to say, "Look, Geoff, you've been lucky, you've got a high-grade cancer, you've caught it by complete fluke, and the tumour was still encapsulated, and hopefully, therefore, he thinks he can, he could deal with it. And I'm hoping I'm out of the woods. I'm still being tested regularly, and I'm hopeful that my health will be okay." And the decision to sell has not been easy, and I think what happened for me, if I'm honest, is that I'm now in my early 60s. That was a massive health scare and a shock for me personally, but it certainly gave me a real sort of wake-up call, and I've spent a bit of time with my family, with my wife and my children and their kids. So it's been a difficult decision, but everything has a beginning, a middle and an end, and I really do feel that I've got a duty now to hand the club over to the next custodian, the next owner, who can hopefully continue the journey that we've been on. Difficult to sort of give the whole chronology of what's happened, because it's nigh on 9 years ago now, but some key events for me were obviously firstly getting the club home and coming back to play in what was then Northern League Division 2. And bringing the club home, crowds responded. We got, I think our average gate in that first season back was in the hundreds. I think 600 or 700 was the average gate, so a big leap from the average 70 gate down in Peterlee. And along that period, from 2015, we've had now 4 promotions. We had that famous season in 2017 where we won 4. Well, there was the promotion itself, but then 3 cups, I think it was. The most notable, of course, is the Vase win in Wembley, where we had something like 15 to 20,000 sand dancers down there. It was an amazing weekend, and the first time the club had ever got to Wembley. And when you think the club was first founded in 1888, it was a remarkable achievement. Obviously, we went on to win the Vase 4-0 that day, and everybody in South Shields had a fantastic weekend, and we were able to come back with a cup. So finally, we've got ourselves into the National League system. We get great support. Our average gates haven't quite increased this year, but we're hopeful they might continue to. But we've built. I built the new stand. It was a £3 million investment in the new stand with the exec boxes, new bars, new toilet facilities, etc., new kitchens. So my point is that, as well as the sort of footballing highlights, there's been a whole series of things that we've tried to do to make the fans' experience when they come to a game that much better. Obviously, we've got to get the product right on the pitch, but also just making the whole match day experience as best as we possibly can for the fans. Yeah, well, our charitable foundation, in fairness, it didn't have the right form, but we had a lot of parents and volunteers who were supporting young children, getting them active and playing football in the local community. Its charitable purpose is all about trying to get children and young adults in the North East, and in particular South Tyneside and South Shields, to get them more active. The Football Club Foundation has got real sort of scale now and is really adding a lot of value in the local community. We measure the impact, we're making a real difference, and as I say, that's all been self-funded. It needed a bit of help initially when we first started out, but now the foundation, through volunteers, through parent donations, through a whole host of activities in the community, is now fully funded and performing well. Well, our academies are an important part now of the football club. We started out back in the day with Graham Fenton and Lee Picton. Those 2 gentlemen had a lot of personal experience of running academies, particularly over at Monk Seaton on North Tyneside. So we just sort of looked at what other models existed elsewhere, and there was an opportunity for us to create something here in South Shields and in South Tyneside. So that's exactly what we did. We started with a 16 to 19 programme. That's now flourishing and performing really well, and it's got an excellent reputation in terms of developing young footballing talent. The lads involved in that programme obviously continue their education, so we partner with Sunderland College, and they deliver, they have their academic delivery at Sunderland College, some of it on site here as well. and then the football delivery through our coaching resource. So the idea is that, you know, young US athletes who are involved in football out there in college football in the US, they want to continue their footballing development. They're also obviously trying to continue their academic development. So we partnered with Sunderland University. There's a number of curricular choices for the students, and they basically get educated and continue their education at Sunderland University, you know, a recognised and very significant and positive regional university, and very highly ranked. And so they deliver that at the university campus, and then we continue their footballing development. So that's quite an exciting sort of new initiative. We've got our first students who've enrolled September of 23, and we've got further intakes planned for January, and then again in September 24. So, you know, that's got real potential, real momentum, and we think that's going to be a real game changer for us. The football club needed investment in the early stages. You know, I've mentioned the club coming back to South Shields, to South Tyneside. A lot of that sort of spade work in infrastructure terms has been done. What we've now got to do is try and drive the revenues. The club still needs a little bit of financial support from me, but we're heading towards that sustainability model. It's very important that we get there. And the message really is that a lot of what I've done, I hope, has been sensible investment in infrastructure and in some of those revenue areas that we touched on, all designed to get the club to that sustainability point. And I think, you know, moving forwards, we've got to keep driving our revenues, being the fans continuing to turn up in numbers, spending their hard-earned money and backing the club. And if we can continue to benefit from that, the club's got a great future. But, you know, it is very much dependent on getting that local support. The message to fans has always been the same, really. Firstly, a big thank you for their support, because it's imperative, and not just the fans but the sponsors as well, who are also fans, of course. I certainly would implore them to continue to support the club. I'd implore them to, you know, bring a friend along, bring the neighbours along, do what you can to try and promote the club, and all the hard work that not me but a whole host of people have put into this club. We can't let that go to waste. So, you know, I'm determined that we find somebody who can, as I say, pick up the baton, invest some time and effort, and enjoy, by the way, what has already been for me personally a fantastic journey. But for any new owner, you know, you get a real buzz delivering all that I've described briefly. It's a fantastic thing to get involved in, and I'm hoping that I can find somebody who will understand that, identify with it, and, as I say, will thoroughly enjoy being involved. So I've got a big responsibility to find that person and to manage the process carefully. Future for the club, it's a really interesting point, because some people might argue, Geoff, you're potentially going to exit at exactly the wrong time. Because when we look at our 3-year forecasts, and in particular the growth in our academy revenues and the growth in the international academy, there's no doubt that this club is going to be in a very, very strong position. And had my health been okay, one could argue I should stay the journey and, you know, hang on in there for another few years. But I don't think I've got that in the tank anymore. You know, I want to retire and spend some time, as I say, with family. Firstly, we've prepared some very detailed modelling and a kind of information memorandum. So there's a lot of information to any potential interested party that maps out not just what the club's done historically and the journey we've been on, but also the forecasts moving forward. So yeah, I think, you know, I'm trying to plan that correctly. We've got advisors appointed. As I say, we've prepared some information so that any interested parties can access that at the appropriate time, who recognise all of the investment that's already been made, and who will get excited and passionate about being part of something truly remarkable. You know, it's a great project, it's an exciting project, and you know, the club's got a great future, and hopefully I can find the right individual to take it forward.